Waitress finds a lost wallet. The millionaire who owns it offers her a job, not knowing she once saved his son. Rain came down in fine, trembling threads that evening, the kind that blurred headlights and soaked through thin jackets. The diner's neon sign buzzed weakly over the wet sidewalk, casting a pale pink glow on the puddles. Inside, the smell of coffee, fried onions, and soap lingered together in the air. Mara wiped her hands on her apron and glanced at the clock above the counter. 10:47 p.m. She still had to catch the last bus home. It had been another long day, 5 tables, 4 tips, and one broken heart that never seemed to fix itself. The same one she carried quietly behind her gentle smile. Her boss, old Mr. Jensen, nodded to her from the kitchen pass-through. "Go home, Mara. I'll close up." She smiled tiredly. "Thanks, Mr. Jensen. See you tomorrow." Outside, the rain had turned colder. She hugged her thin jacket closer and pulled her small umbrella open. The wind caught it, flipping it inside out, and she laughed softly. Half despair, half habit. Life had taught her to find humor even when there wasn't any. At the bus stop, she sat on the cold metal bench, her work shoes squeaking as she shifted her tired feet. The street was quiet except for the hum of engines passing and the rhythmic patter of rain. She reached into her bag to check for her phone and wallet, and that's when she saw it. A black leather wallet, soaked at the edges, lying half-hidden under the bench. She picked it up. It was heavy, the kind of expensive leather that didn't belong to anyone from her neighborhood. Inside was a thick stack of crisp bills, a platinum card, and a business ID with the name printed in silver letters. Ethan Hale, CEO, Hale Innovations. She frowned. That name sounded familiar, though she couldn't quite place it. Maybe she'd seen it on one of those glossy business magazines she dusted at the grocery store. For a second, temptation whispered. A small, hungry voice reminding her how much she owed in rent, how little food was left at home. But she closed the wallet firmly. That voice had never belonged to her. Her bus came, sighing to a stop, and she climbed aboard, clutching the wallet tightly as though afraid the world might take it back. Mara's apartment was small. 1 bedroom, peeling paint, a stubborn radiator that only half worked. On the couch, under a patchwork blanket, her 6-year-old daughter Ella was sleeping, her thumb still resting near her mouth, her curls damp with sweat. Mara knelt beside her and brushed the hair from her forehead. "Hey, baby," she whispered. "Mommy's home." Ella stirred, but didn't wake. In that quiet moment, Mara felt the usual ache in her chest, part gratitude, part exhaustion. Everything she did was for this little girl. The double shifts, the second-hand clothes, the endless worry. Ella was her reason to keep moving, even when life seemed to move against her. After showering, she sat by the dim lamp and looked at the wallet again. She could barely imagine the life of a man who owned something like this. Probably a world of tall offices, city lights, fine suits, and people who never had to choose between food or heat. Still, she felt a strange pull, a sense that returning it mattered more than just honesty. Something about the name Ethan Hale stirred a faint echo in her memory. The next morning, she called the number printed on the business card. A woman answered in a polished tone. "Hale Innovations, good morning." "Hi," Mara said softly. I found a wallet last night. It belongs to Mr. Ethan Hale." There was a brief silence. Then, "Please hold." When the line clicked back, the woman's tone had changed. "Mr. Hale would like to thank you personally. Could you come to the main office today?" Mara blinked. I work at a diner." "Anytime that suits you. Mr. Hale will make time." The Hale Innovations building was like a glass mountain rising out of the city, reflecting clouds and traffic in its mirrored walls. Mara had never been inside a place like that. The marble floor gleamed under her shoes. Her reflection followed her across it. At the reception, the woman from the phone greeted her and led her into a private elevator. It opened into a quiet office of minimalist design, gray, glass, and calm. Behind a broad desk, a man stood looking out at the skyline. When he turned, she caught her breath. Ethan Hale was tall, early 30s, with that effortless confidence of someone used to being obeyed. But there was a weight in his eyes. Grief or guilt, she couldn't tell. His suit was dark, his tie loosened, and yet his expression softened slightly when he saw her. "You found my wallet," he said. His voice was deep, even, but tired. "Yes," Mara said, handing it to him. "It was at the bus stop. I thought—" "Thank you," he said quickly, opening it to check. Everything was there. He looked up again, studying her face for a moment longer than necessary. "You could have kept it." "I couldn't," she said simply. "My daughter wouldn't like it if I did." That drew the faintest flicker of a smile from him. "Honesty's rare these days." He reached into the wallet and pulled out several bills, but she shook her head. "Please don't. I didn't do it for a reward." He hesitated, then slipped the money back. "Then at least allow me to offer you something else." "Do you have a job?" She blinked. "Yes, at a diner." "Do you like it?" She smiled faintly. "It keeps us fed." He nodded slowly. "I need someone trustworthy to look after my son. It's hard finding people who care more about others than themselves. Would you consider working for me? As his caretaker?" Mara stared. "Me? You've proven more character in 10 minutes than most people I meet in a year." Her mind spun. A millionaire offering her a job? It sounded like one of those unrealistic stories people whispered about in buses and beauty salons. But something in his voice wasn't arrogance. It was fatigue, loneliness even. My daughter," she began. "Bring her," he said. "Children need children." That night, Mara prayed longer than usual before bed. Not out of greed, but gratitude, and fear that something too good to be true often came with invisible strings. The Hale mansion stood on the edge of the city, surrounded by high iron gates and whispering trees. It wasn't cold or showy, but quietly beautiful, the kind of place built for peace. When Mara and Ella arrived, the housekeeper led them through wide hallways smelling of cedar and fresh linen. Then a small voice echoed from the staircase. "Dad?" Mara turned and saw a little boy of about 6. Dark hair, wide gray eyes, cautious as a cat. Ethan appeared behind him, his expression softening. "Liam, this is Miss Mara. She'll be helping us from now on." The boy looked at her and then at Ella, who smiled shyly. Within minutes, they were chasing each other around the living room, their laughter echoing off the tall ceilings. Ethan watched them quietly, his jaw relaxing just a bit. Over the next days, Mara settled into her new rhythm. She cooked, helped with homework, and took Liam and Ella to the park. The children became inseparable, building forts out of blankets and whispering secrets under the oak tree in the garden. Ethan mostly kept to his office, but now and then Mara caught glimpses of him, on late calls, standing by the window with a glass of whiskey, or kneeling beside his son's bed at night, tucking him in with silent care. He was a man wrapped in quiet sorrow. Mara sensed it but never asked. Once, when she found him in the kitchen after midnight staring at the photo on the fridge, she noticed it was of a smiling woman with Liam in her arms. "She was his mother," he said quietly, noticing her glance. "She died 3 years ago. Accident." "I'm sorry," Mara whispered. He nodded once. "I stopped letting people in after that. Business is easier than grief." She didn't reply, but her silence said enough. As weeks turned to months, the mansion changed in small, tender ways. There were toys in the hallway now, children's laughter in the garden, the smell of pancakes on Sunday mornings. Ethan started joining breakfast, sometimes even smiling when Liam told stories that made no sense. One evening, while Mara was folding laundry in the sitting room, Ethan entered, carrying a box of books. "I found these in storage," he said. "Children's stories. Thought Liam and Ella might like them." She smiled. "That's kind of you." He hesitated, then set them down. "Mara, I've been watching how you are with them. With Liam, he's happier. I owe you for that." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "You don't owe me anything. Kids just need time and love. Both are free." That line lingered between them. For the first time, he looked at her not as an employee but as someone who understood what mattered most, the small, invisible kindnesses that held a family together. One afternoon, a storm rolled in unexpectedly while Mara was picking Liam up from school. Thunder cracked across the gray sky. On the walk home, she told the children to stay close. They were crossing the street when a speeding car splashed through the rainwater, swerving dangerously close. Mara's body moved before thought. She pulled Liam and Ella to the sidewalk, her shoulder slamming into the ground. The driver never stopped. When Ethan arrived minutes later, called by the frantic school guard, he saw Mara kneeling, drenched, holding both children against her chest. Her hands trembled, but her voice was calm, soothing them. For a moment, all he could do was stare, because that scene pulled something long buried from his memory. A different rainy night, years ago. A young woman running into the street to save a child who'd wandered away from his babysitter. His child, Liam, barely 3. He'd never known who that woman was. She'd vanished before he could thank her, and now he was looking right at her. For a moment, Ethan could hardly breathe. Rain dripped from his coat, his heartbeat louder than the storm. Mara knelt on the curb, holding the children close, whispering calm into their panic, unaware that the man watching her had just seen the missing piece of his own story slot into place. He stepped forward slowly. "Mara," he said, his voice quieter than the rain. You were there that night." She blinked up at him, confused. "What night?" "The night my son almost—" He swallowed, his throat tight. 3 years ago, in the park. There was a car. A woman pulled him out of the street before the impact. She disappeared before I could thank her." Mara's eyes widened. She looked down at Liam, who was staring up at her, completely trusting. "That was you." Ethan's voice broke a little. "You saved him." Mara looked away, shivering. "I didn't even think you saw me. I just did what anyone would have done." "No," he said softly. "Not anyone. You risked your life for a stranger's child." "My child." He stepped closer, and the distance between them felt like it evaporated with the rain. For the first time, she saw past his control, past the expensive suit and guarded tone, into a man who'd carried years of guilt for not saying thank you to the person who'd saved the only thing that still gave his life meaning. He knelt in front of her, rain soaking through the fabric of his pants, his hand trembling as he brushed a leaf from Liam's hair. "I don't even know what to say." Mara gave a small shaky smile. "Then don't. He's safe. That's all that matters." But Ethan couldn't stop looking at her, at the way she held both children, at the steadiness in her eyes even when fear had every reason to take over. It wasn't gratitude anymore that filled his chest. It was something deeper, slower, frighteningly alive. Before we move ahead, comment where are you guys watching from and drop a comment. That night, after the children were asleep, he found her in the kitchen. She'd changed into dry clothes, her hair still damp from the rain. The air between them was thick with things neither dared name. He leaned against the counter. "You've changed this house, Mara. You've changed me." She looked up, startled. "I haven't done anything." "You've done everything," he said. "When you came here, I barely spoke to my own son. I thought I was protecting him by keeping the world out, but you showed me what I was really doing, building a cage around both of us." She shook her head, eyes glistening. "You just needed time to heal." He laughed quietly, almost bitterly. "Healing doesn't happen alone. I just didn't know that until you showed up." Silence fell between them. The storm outside had faded, but inside, something was breaking open, gently, painfully, beautifully. "I owe you everything," he said, "and not just for saving him." Mara's voice was barely a whisper. "Ethan, you don't owe me anything. You've given me and my daughter more than I could ever repay." He took a slow step closer. "You've given us something money can't buy. Warmth. Peace. I had forgotten what that even felt like." Their eyes met and held. the kind of gaze that felt like the beginning of something irreversible. But Mara turned away first, her breath catching. "Ethan, we come from different worlds. I don't want to confuse kindness with something else." He smiled sadly. "Maybe we're not so different. We both know loss. We both love our children more than ourselves. Maybe that's all that really matters." Days passed, and something unspoken hung in the air. Ethan began joining the children at breakfast every morning. He walked with them to the park, sometimes even helped Ella with her math homework, laughing at how quickly she outsmarted him. Mara noticed the change. The house that once felt like a museum now felt alive. Music drifting from the kitchen, flowers in the hallway, laughter echoing up the stairs. One evening, she found him sitting by the fireplace, his laptop forgotten beside him, watching Liam and Ella build towers of blocks. He looked at her with quiet wonder. "Do you ever think some people are sent into our lives just to remind us how to feel again?" She smiled softly. "Yes, but sometimes we realize it too late." He held her gaze. "Not this time." Spring arrived slowly, and with it, the first hint of color returning to both their worlds. Mara took the children to the gardens, planting small herbs in the sun. Ethan joined them one weekend, rolling up his sleeves, dirt smudging his hands for the first time in years. Liam giggled as Ethan tried to plant a seed backward, and Mara laughed, a sound that made him pause, look at her, and forget the ache of every day that had come before. Later, when the children went inside for juice, Ethan stayed behind wiping his hands on a towel. "Mara," he said, his voice low, "there's something I need to tell you." She turned, shading her eyes. "What is it?" "I've been offered a project abroad. 6 months in Singapore. It's important. But I can't imagine leaving Liam. Or this." His eyes softened. "Or you." Her heart skipped. "I wouldn't ask you to choose," she said quietly. "I'm not," he replied. "For the first time, I don't want to run towards something bigger. I want to stay where things feel real." Her eyes stung. "You should do what's right for you." He smiled faintly. "Maybe for the first time, what's right for me isn't what the world expects." The wind stirred around them, carrying the scent of new grass and warmth. But fate, as it often does, wasn't done testing them. One afternoon, while Mara was out shopping with Ella, a tall woman arrived at the Hale estate. The expensive clothes, confident steps, the kind of person who belonged to Ethan's world. It was Victoria, Ethan's late wife's sister. She'd flown in unannounced, claiming to check on family matters. When Mara returned, she found Victoria's sleek car in the driveway and Ethan looking weary in the foyer. "Mara," he said gently, "this is Victoria." The woman gave her a cold smile. "So you're the new nanny everyone's whispering about." Mara felt her stomach tighten. "Nice to meet you." Victoria's tone dripped with quiet disdain. "Ethan, it's admirable that you're trying to move on, but really, a waitress? Living here? With her child?" Ethan's voice hardened. "That's enough." But the damage was done. Mara's heart sank. That night, after tucking Ella in, she stood by the window, watching the city lights. She'd known this world wasn't hers, but hearing it out loud made it sting differently. When Ethan found her later, she tried to smile. "Maybe she's right. Maybe I don't belong here." He shook his head. "Don't let her poison what's real. She doesn't understand what you've done for us." Mara's voice trembled. "Ethan, someday you'll wake up and realize you could have anyone. Someone from your world. Someone who doesn't make the news call you reckless for falling for a single mother who waits tables." He stepped closer, taking her hands. "Mara, I don't care what the world says. For the first time in years, I'm happy. You gave my son his laughter back. You gave me my heart back." Her eyes filled, but she looked away. "Please don't say that. You're grateful. That's different." "I'm in love with you." The words landed between them like a heartbeat. Slow, real, unmistakable. Mara froze. Her pulse thundered. "Ethan." He smiled sadly. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know." Then he left her standing by the window, tears mingling with the moonlight. The next morning, the mansion felt too big. Mara packed quietly, folding Ella's small clothes, tucking away memories that still smelled of sunlight and hope. When Ethan came downstairs, she was already by the door. "Leaving?" His voice cracked. She nodded, forcing a smile. "You've been kind, but I can't stay where I'll always feel like a guest. Ella and we need to find our own place again." Liam clung to her leg, crying. "Don't go! Please don't go!" Mara knelt, hugging him tightly. "Be brave, sweetheart. You've got your dad. He loves you more than the world." Ethan stood helplessly, his hands fisting at his sides, unable to find words strong enough to stop her. She turned once at the door. "Goodbye, Ethan." And then she was gone. The rain came again that night. Ethan stood by the window, staring out into the storm, feeling the same hollow ache he'd lived with before Mara entered his life. Only now it hurt worse, because this time he knew what warmth felt like, what love felt like. Liam refused to eat dinner. He just sat by the window too, clutching the toy airplane Mara had given him. "When is she coming back?" he asked in a small voice. Ethan knelt beside him, his heart breaking. "I don't know, buddy. Did I do something wrong?" Ethan pulled him close. "No, you did everything right. Sometimes grown-ups just get scared when things start to matter too much." He tried to work the next day, but every number on the screen blurred. Every hallway in that huge mansion echoed with her absence. The laughter in the kitchen, the soft sound of her voice reading bedtime stories, the smell of pancakes in the morning. Without her, it all felt like a life pretending to be whole. A week passed, then 2. Mara found a small apartment near Ella's school. It wasn't much, a second-hand couch, a leaky faucet, but it was theirs. She worked double shifts at the diner again, saving every tip. But at night, when Ella was asleep, she found herself staring at her phone, thumb hovering over Ethan's number. She missed him. She missed Liam. And worst of all, she missed the way he looked at her like she was someone who mattered. Still, she told herself it was for the best. He belonged in a world of glass towers and grand halls. She belonged here, among the clatter of dishes and the smell of coffee and rain. One evening, as she wiped down the diner counter, the doorbell jingled. She turned, expecting a late customer. But it was him. Ethan stood there, rain on his shoulders, exhaustion in his eyes, and something else. Hope. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Mara whispered, "You shouldn't be here." "I've been looking for you," he said softly. "For weeks." "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He took a step closer. "You left without letting me explain." "There's nothing to explain, Ethan. We live in different worlds. I'm a man who hasn't slept in days because I miss the woman who made my house a home," he interrupted. "I don't care about worlds, Mara. I care about you." Her voice trembled. "Don't say that. You'll regret it." He shook his head slowly. "No, I'll regret letting you walk away if I don't fight for you now." The diner was quiet. Only the soft hum of the neon sign outside filled the silence. Ethan reached into his coat pocket and took out something, a folded photograph. He placed it on the counter. It was a picture of Liam and Ella, sitting in the garden, laughing, faces lit by sunlight. "I took this the day before you left," he said. "I look at it every morning. You said we came from different worlds, but this picture? It's our world, the one we built together." Mara's eyes filled, her hands trembling as she touched the photo. "I can't give Liam that kind of light without you," Ethan continued quietly, "and I can't breathe without knowing you're okay. I thought money could fix everything in life, but it turns out the only thing I ever needed was standing in front of me the whole time." Her tears slipped down her cheeks. "Ethan!" He stepped closer, his voice breaking. "Come home, Mara, not as an employee, not as a guest, but as family. For a long moment she didn't speak. The sound of rain against the windows filled the silence. Finally, she looked up at him through her tears. "What about the people who'll talk? The ones who'll say, 'I don't belong with you'?" He smiled softly. "Let them talk. I've lived long enough worrying about everyone's opinions but my own. The only thing I want now is real." Mara laughed through her tears. "You always know what to say." "No," he whispered, brushing a tear from her cheek. "You just finally gave me something worth saying." She looked into his eyes, and for the first time she didn't see a millionaire or a boss. She saw a man, broken and healing in the same breath. And before she could stop herself, she stepped into his arms. He held her like someone who had just found home after being lost too long. Weeks later, the Hale mansion was no longer silent. Mara and Ella had moved back in, not as guests, but as family. On Saturday mornings, the smell of pancakes filled the halls again. Liam and Ella ran through the living room, their laughter echoing all the way up the marble staircase. Ethan sat at the table, pretending to read the paper but watching Mara instead, a quiet smile playing on his lips as she flipped pancakes with messy grace. "You're staring again," she teased. "Just making sure this isn't a dream," he replied. She rolled her eyes but couldn't stop smiling. "If it is, let's not wake up." Months passed, and spring gave way to summer. On a golden evening, they took the children to the same park where fate had first tied their lives together, the place Mara had once saved Liam. The kids ran ahead, laughing, chasing bubbles across the grass. Ethan turned to her. "Do you ever think about that night?" She nodded. "Every time I see him smile, it reminds me how fragile everything is, and how sometimes even a moment can change everything." He took her hand, his voice low. "That moment gave me my second chance. With him, with life, with you." She leaned against him, her heart full. "I guess sometimes the best things start when everything else falls apart." He kissed her forehead, whispering, "No, Mara, the best things start when someone like you decides to care." That night, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the children's laughter faded into the wind, Ethan pulled Mara close and whispered, "You saved my son once, but you saved me too." She smiled, eyes glistening. "And you gave us a home." He shook his head softly. "No, you made it one." And for the first time in a long, long time, everything felt exactly where it was meant to be.